The brand new Pokemon Pocket set, Triumphant Light, is out. It's been out for like less than 24 hours, and I wanted to give my first impressions on it, so I decided I'm going to make a tier list today for fun. I'm going to be going over every single card. I figured, why not make a nice little longer, kind of like unedited, unscripted video. I'm going over every card in the expansion, and I'm going to give my thoughts on all of them and see if any of them are really playable or any of them are really good or not. Spoiler alert, the majority are not. I think this is one of the weakest sets we've gotten so far. But there's one card that is definitely standing out above the rest. And I'll get into that in a second. But before we get into the cards, I want to go ahead through a little explanation of tiers here. Let me go ahead and hide my face cam so you guys can see this. In the broken tier, up here is like absolutely meta-defining stuff. This is going to be like stuff on the same level as like Executor EX, Magnezone, stuff that literally warps the entire metagame around it. Meta is going to be stuff that doesn't necessarily warp the game around it, but is still really good into the format. And we're talking about other picks here like Charizard EX or Palkia EX, Gyarados EX, other decks that, don't warp the game around them per se, but are still really good picks that are winning tournaments. I don't know means it could go either way. I'm not sure if the card's going to be a meta-defining, not meta-defining, but a meta good pick into the format, or if it's going to end up being a niche or rogue deck. Niche or rogue is it's self-explanatory. It's not going to be like super represented, but you can play it in tournament and it's not like trolling, And then don't play is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. Now, I want to put an emphasis here because just because a card is in the don't play tier doesn't mean that it's unplayable. Notice that it's called don't play and not unplayable, right? I put don't play instead of unplayable because just because something is down here doesn't mean that it's unplayable. It just means that you shouldn't play it. Like, for example, last expansion I would have put Rhyperior down in the don't play tier, right? Doesn't mean that you can't build a deck around Rhyperior. It just means that you really shouldn't. Like, yeah, you could make Rhyperior work by putting, I don't know, some wall in front of it like Regirock or Druddigon and building it up. And Rhyperior does one-shot a lot of the stuff in the game, most of the stuff in the game, and it's a scary win condition, but it's not worth using. If you want to use a Stage 2 deck that does big damage like that, you have like Rampardos or something, I don't know. So yeah, don't play doesn't necessarily mean that it's unplayable. It just means that you shouldn't play it because there's better stuff. So now that we got out of the way, let's start putting stuff on the tier list, yeah? So before anything, I want to talk about one card. I'm gonna go in order after this, but I want to talk about one card that's just absolutely broken. I don't know why it's in the game, and that is Irida. I don't know why Irida's in the game. I don't know. We need to talk about this card, right? And I'm gonna try not to talk about it too long because there's a lot of stuff to get through. But man, this card shouldn't exist. Straight up, I firmly believe that this shit was a mistake. I genuinely think that this card was a mistake. First of all, water did not need healing, like at all. We did not need. I don't think any. I personally think that no other type should have access to a dedicated healing card other than grass, because that's grass's entire thing, or it should be at least, is just giga healing, right? So this is already a huge disservice to Erica, right? And grass's identity, like this is already like super bad idea. Like, why would they ever do this, right? But on top of this, right, you would think, okay, well, it's a type specific healing card, right? No, it's not. It's not. That's my other problem with the card. They made it exclusive to Pokemon with water energy. This card makes it so that it heals 40 damage from all of your Pokemon with water energy attached. So not only can it heal more than one Pokemon for 40 damage, which is already like the first of its kind in the game. That's ridiculous. That's a lot of healing. But it's not even limited to water Pokemon. That's ridiculous. You can heal Magnezone with this if you're playing Magnezone in a water deck. You could heal Druddigon with this and Gyarados EX, for example. Man, that's stupid. That is G-shit stupid. So, Irida's a card that I expect to see absolutely everywhere. Every water deck ever is going to start using it, at the very least one copy. Like, guaranteed. Palkia EX, Gyarados EX, Articuno 18 Trainer is going to use 2 of them, but all those decks are at least running one copy of this. Guaranteed. It's not even, like, up for debate. And I've even seen other decks that aren't water start using this, like colorless attackers. They've been using water energy just to enable Irida. And even stuff that's not colorless and that's not water, like Magnezone, for example, it's self-sufficient, so you can use Irida with it. This card is unbelievably obnoxious. I genuinely think it was a mistake, and it robs Grass of its whole identity with Erica being Giga Healing. You know, like, it sucks. Water did not need more support. It didn't, and it didn't need more support at all. And healing was definitely not something that it needed, because it's not something that the type should have access to like that. No other type should have access to this strong of a healing effect except Grass, because that's Grass's whole thing. So this thing is broken. It's easily the best card in the entire set, because healing 40 off of multiple Pokemon in a single turn is ridiculous, and the requirement isn't even that bad. It's just a water energy. So a lot of Pokemon are going to be able to make use of this, both water types and non-water types. I genuinely think this card was a mistake. I don't know why they printed it. I don't know what they were thinking, but it's absolutely broken to the point where genuinely it gaps everything else in this expansion so hard that they might as well have just called this expansion Irida, because this is the only fucking card worth pulling. I'm exaggerating there a little bit, but yeah, it's that good. I genuinely think it's going to be that good. This card is fucking stupid. I don't know why it exists. Now that we got that out of the way, we can go through the rest of the cards. And the reason I want to get Irida out of the way first is probably because you're going to hear me mentioning it a lot. So, yeah. Anyway, let's start talking throughout the cards. Heracross, don't play this shit. This shit sucks. You have to flip 2 coins in order to do a lot of damage. 3 energy attack absolutely sucks for 50. And even with Berry, which reduces this down to 1 cost, relying on a supporter to attack is not the best, and I know Luxray makes it work, but that's because Luxray hits anything for 120, and that's a much more powerful effect than 50 damage, and maybe sometimes it's 120 for 1 energy, which is really strong, don't get me wrong, but you have to play this with Berry. So, this card sucks. Spoiler alert, the only card that's worth playing with Berry is Staraptor, the other 2 are dog shit. Burmy and Mothim, this thing is not real. 50 damage for 2 energy, like, use Farfetch'd or something. I don't know. Like, this thing is not real. It's not a real card. The other Vespiquen is easily better. This Combee, I don't even know if the other Combee is better or not. I don't know, dude. But the other Vespiquen is way, way, way better than this. Don't play this shit. 120 for 3 energy on a stage 1 is noticeable. Like that, we have to talk about that. That's pretty good. But 100 HP makes this not worth it at all. If you want to play a recoil card like this, Staraptor's your better bet. Cherubi and Cherrim absolutely suck. This thing is god-awful. 1 energy for 40, Confusion is a powerful effect, don't get me wrong, but I mean, again, just use Farfetch'd, right? Like, the Confusion's cool, but remember, Confusion doesn't do damage in this game. I'm of the opinion that, personally, Confusion kind of sucks. So, not great. You also have this other Cherrim. They made, like, an Overcast form and a Sunny form, which is cool. Unfortunately, this one is still not very good. 60 damage, healing 20 is cool. If this thing was bulkier, I could see it, but there's no reason to play this in any of your grass decks, ever, in my opinion. Carnivine. This is either going in the I don't know or meta. I'm going to leave it in I don't know, because I plan to put Arceus here too, spoiler alert. I think this is going to be one of the best cards to pair with Arceus, personally, because 1 energy for 50 damage thanks to Power Link, as long as Arceus or Arceus EX is in play. By the way, Arceus is dog shit, so it's going to have to be the X version. But 1 energy for 50 damage is really good, as Skarmory has proven. So I think this could legitimately see play. Plus, you can heal it up with Erica. So, pretty cool. I think Carnivine is going to be one of the better cards to pair with Arceus. I'm going to put it in the I don't know tier. It's going to follow Arceus, is my consensus with Carnivine. If Arceus is good, Carnivine's going to be really good. It's going to if Arceus is good, if Arceus is meta, then Carnivine's going to be meta. If not, then it'll be as good. Carnivine, however good Carnivine is, entirely depends on how good Arceus is. Leafeon EX. This makes me really sad. All right, Leafeon EX makes me very sad. Because this card was so close to being good. so close to being good, man. So here are my problems with Leafeon EX, right? My first problem with Leafeon EX is that it's a ramp card that's a stage 1 EX. That's my first problem. My second problem is that there's no grass card in the game that really, really wants to pair with it. Like, there's not any grass attacker in the game that you pair with Leafeon EX, and it's like, oh my god, this is so broken, this is so good. No, there's really not. The best thing in the game that really wants energy like that, that's super energy hungry, is like Celebi, and you're better off pairing it with Executor, because that's the best deck in the game. Executor EX Celebi is the best deck in the game. I think it's better than Dark Zone, personally. So, yeah, I don't think there's a reason to play Celebi Leafeon over Celebi Egg, personally. So you could make an argument for Leafeon and Venusaur. It helps Venusaur ramp up a little bit faster, and you have Leafeon that tanks. That's not bad, but Venusaur isn't real. So, take that with a grain of salt as well. And then the last thing I want to mention about Leafeon is that if you cope hard enough, you can maybe treat this like Magnezone because it can self-ramp. The problem with that is that it has to be in the active, so not really, right? It's like you can't really compare it to Magnezone in my opinion, because it has to sit in the active in order to ramp itself up or to ramp up its teammates. So personally, I think this card would have been good if it was either one of two things. If this was a basic EX, that could get online, immediately because it's a basic, or if this Leafeon was not an EX at all, so it would only give up one prize while you're ramping your other cards, I could have seen this being pretty good. It could have been like, if it was a basic EX, it could have been like dollar store Moltres for grass, and if it was a basic, it could have been like dollar store Manaphy for grass. But it's not either of those things. It's just the worst of both worlds. Stage 1 EX ramp card is not good because you're giving up 2 prizes. So I don't think Leafeon is great. People are going to try to build around it. I've even seen some people pair this with Water Energy because you can ramp itself up with grass, and then Water Energy enables Irida on top of Erica, which is kind of cool. But 140 HP isn't stupidly tanky. You're dropping to Gyarados, you're dropping to Palkia. So, I mean, Giant Cape saves you, sure, but still. I don't think this card... people are going to try this out, then they're going to realize it's not good, and then it's going to fall off and not be played anymore. So yeah, Leafeon EX is a disappointment. I wish it was so close to being good, I feel. But it's just not. I don't think it is. Let's get into the fire cards now. Only 3 of them this expansion, unfortunately, but... I want to put Houndoom in the niche category. I really, really want to put Houndoom in niche. But I don't think I'm going to do that simply because Arbok isn't seeing any play, so I don't think this is going to see any play either. Like, this being a fire type doesn't really do anything for it that you couldn't do with Arbok, other than the fact that you can ramp with it with, like, Moltres or something, but, like, I don't think there's any reason to play Houndoom over, like, Charizard EX, for example. Like, as a single prize fire deck, I don't think Houndoom is going to be doing anything. With Cyrus in the game, it's kind of cool. Like, you can snipe something and then bring it in with Houndoom or something. I don't think there even is a fire card that can snipe. There actually is a generic card that can snipe now, but we're going to talk about that later. But yeah, I don't think Houndoom is worth playing, personally. Heatran is going in the I don't know tier again. I might just name this to the fucking Arceus card tier. Again, Heatran will entirely depend on Arceus. If Arceus is good, Heatran's going to be very good, because Heatran is another one of the best cards to pair with Arceus, because this thing is fucking crazy. Right? If Arceus is in play, this thing has no retreat cost. That's crazy as hell. That's crazy as hell. Especially when your attack does 40 more damage if you've got damage on you. Right? So it's doing 80 for 2 energy. So essentially, the way they want you to use this card is you lead with it, you build up Arceus in the back, and when your Arceus is ready to go, you retreat your Heatran for free, and then you start swinging with Arceus. And now if Arceus goes down or whatever, you've got the Heatran in the back with damage on it, so now you can hit for 80 damage with it whenever you want. So that's pretty solid, I think. And 110 HP is great for a basic. That's good tanking numbers. And yeah, Heatran's going to be this card is going to be exclusively played with Arceus. Same thing with Carnivine, because Speed Link is just really good. But yeah, I think Heatran is one of the better Arceus cards. And how good it is, just like Carnivine, is going to depend entirely on how good Arceus ends up being. And we'll talk about Arceus, of course. But yeah, I don't know. If Arceus is good, Heatran's going to be one of the best partners for it. So don't sleep on this card if Arceus is good, man. It's going to be solid. Mero and Azumarill are not real. Barboach and Whiscash are not real. Snowrunt and Frostlass are not real. Frostlass is like a stage 1 version of Rotom Frost. Not worth it. Snover and Abomasnow. Okay, so low-key, I want to say that this isn't horrible. Like a water variant of Arceus, right? A water variant... I'm going to put this in niche. Right? Okay, well, this Snover sucks, first of all. I don't know how good the other Snover is. I forgot. But this Snover fucking sucks. Don't play this Snover. But this Abomasnow, I'm going to put it in niche. You could make an argument for don't play, to be honest. But you could put this in niche. The reason I say in niche is because Vigor Link isn't amazing, but doing 80 damage for 2 energy is a big deal. And I think in some sort of Arceus archetype where like in some sort of like water archetype for Arceus, I think this could maybe be a legitimate card. 120 HP for stage 1 is okay. And you're hitting for 80 damage, and you can heal this up with Irida as well. You can heal Arceus up with Irida in this water variant as well. Water just has so much support that I think water cards are just by default better than some of the other cards in the game because they just have so much support. You have Misty, you have Irida, you've got Manaphy to ramp your energy, you've got Vaporeon to reallocate it, you know? Like... so I think Abomasnow could maybe see some usage. It's one of the not so great Arceus partners, but it's not the worst one. Nowhere close, right? I'm gonna put it in niche, but you could honestly make an argument for don't play. Like you would put it, you could say that Abomasnow is not worth playing, and I would probably believe you. Like I'm gonna probably leave it in niche. I don't know. I'll put it in don't play for now, but I might move it up. Okay, Glaceon's definitely going in don't play though. Okay, this thing sucks. I'm sorry. Like people were talking about this like, yo, it has poison as an ability. This thing sucks. I'm sorry. Here's the problem with Glaceon, right? So you're 140 HP stage 1, which is quite good. Your damage output is very low. 3 energy for 90 damage is not great. And the problem with Glaceon is that I just don't think it's worth it over the other water decks in the game right now, right? Because in the 2 water decks in the game that are worth playing right now are Palkia EX and Gyarados, right? Glaceon's not worth playing over those 2 cards at all, in my opinion, right? So then the question becomes, like, okay, if Glaceon isn't really worth making its own standalone deck around, even with Irida, even with all the healing that we just got for the water archetype and all this shit, I still don't think it's worth it, right? Because you would rather just nuke shit with Palkia and Gyarados. So, if Glaceon is not worth making a whole deck around, then maybe we can slot it into the Palkia and Gyarados decks instead? But, well, no, not really, because if you want a secondary attacker that bad, Articuno's much better. It's a basic, it sets up the bench for Cyrus, and it has a 1 energy cost attack for 30, so you have an early game attacking option, and you're not just screwed if you lead it. There's no reason to use Glaceon. I'm sorry. There's not a deck that it can fit in, and as its own archetype, it's not cutting it with the in comparison to the competition. For a water deck, you're much better off with Palkia EX or Gyarados EX. There's no reason to play Glaceon, I'm sorry. This thing sucks. This Pikachu is interesting. I think this probably is the best Pikachu we have right now. I mean, I'm not going to say it's like meta or anything because Electric isn't super, like it's kind of just Magnezone, to be honest. That's like the only relevant electric thing besides Pachirisu, I guess. So I'm going to put Pikachu in like niche because, I mean, it's not going to be played in a lot of decks, but the decks where it is played, like, this is a good Pikachu. You get to set up something for Cyrus. Like, that's pretty good, you know? So, I think this Pikachu is fine. It's pretty good. And this Raichu, I'm going to put it up here with the Arceus cards as well. This could... Again, all of these Arceus cards are just going to depend on how good Arceus is, but dude, if Arceus is good, Raichu is nasty. Because minus 30 from anything, from everything, is a really big deal. You're getting like, Farfetch'd needs to hit you 9 times. Farfetch'd needs to hit you 9 times. Like, you're reducing Farfetch's damage to 10, dude. That's ridiculous. Hitmonlee, you have weakness, unfortunately, but you're reducing that down as well. Like, you're pretty much not weak to it anymore. You're only taking 20, I think, right? Because it's 30 normally. Yeah, you're only taking 20. So that's a big deal. You're getting, like, 4-shot by Hitmonlee now. And the great part is that Raichu can take advantage of this longevity by sniping the bench over and over again with Spark. I honestly wish that Spark was just a straight up sniping attack instead of doing 40 to the active and 20 to the bench. I kind of wish it was just 60 anywhere or 50 anywhere, but I'll take what I can get. This Raichu is good. This Raichu is, like, I think it's legit. I mean, you need Arceus to make it worth your while, because without the Resilience link, I think this just sucks. You would rather just play Zebstrika, and Zebstrika isn't really a good card anymore, so that gives you an idea of how good this is without Arceus EX. But if Arceus EX finds a place in the metagame, these 3 cards are quite good with it, I think. Alright, what else? Very disappointed with Electrek and Manectric. I mean, Electrek is fine. It's just like exactly what you'd expect. Manectric fucking sucks. It's a coin flip to avoid damage for 40. I was very disappointed with this. Yeah, this thing sucks. It's horrible. This Clefairy is the worst one we've gotten so far. 2 energy for 30 is pitiful. This Clefable is not worth playing. Also, Psychic is literally not real right now. This Ghastly is funny. It's like cool hand disruption. This might be the Ghastly to play. I don't know. This Hunter completely fucking sucks. And this Gengar, it's not going to be a real deck. It'll be Rogue. Nah, if you're playing this in tournament, you're trolling. Nah, yeah, the whole line's going down here. If you're playing this in tournament, you're trolling. I'm sorry. Yeah, don't play that shit. Unknown is not real. I mean, it's Porygon, but better. But Porygon wasn't that good to begin with, so... I'm so sad about Rotom. I am very, very, very sad about Rotom. I don't really care about the whole speed link bullshit. Like, whatever. This is not good with Arceus. But this could have been good. If dash attack was 30 damage to anything, this could have been fire. Like, it's essentially what it would have been, a frailer version of Hitmonlee, but it's generic. Dude, that's so good. That would have been sick. But no, unfortunately it's 20 damage, and that's a big deal, because now you can no longer one-shot Magikarp. So, like, I was literally thinking about slotting this into Volkner. Into, like, Luxray Volkner. But, as another sniping option, but that's costs 1 energy instead of 2 with Electabuzz. But, unfortunately, and I would have considered that if this was 30 damage, but 20 is just way too low. This Rotom sucks, unfortunately. Sudowoodo is a funny tech card that can counter EXs, but I think you're better off playing Hitmonchan plus Lucario. You could do 70 damage to Darkrai with this if you have a Lucario and that 2 shots, and that's pretty cool. But I think you're just better off with the Hitmonlee, because 50 damage is 2-shotting Giroud anyway, right? So yeah, I don't know. I feel like the Sudowoodo is a tech card for sure. I just think you're better off playing Hitmonchan. No, I don't know why I was saying Hitmonlee. Sorry, I meant Hitmonchan. This Fanfy and Donphan are not real. I don't know why these guys keep adding these big fighting type attackers that have 3 billion energy costs, and there's no fighting acceleration in the game. Until we get that, these cards are ass. Just like Rhyperior. And just like Hippowdon, Donphan sucks. Sorry. I know Stage 1 Togekiss effect is kind of cool on it. It's not worth it. Don't do it. This is the most disappointing thing ever. These cards suck ass, man. The entire Tyranitar line is so horrible. It's really, really sad. They somehow managed to print a worse version of Rhyperior. Like, it's genuinely impressive. You can do some big damage with Power Link. It's just not worth setting all this bullshit up. This is never going to see play with Arceus, 100%. There are much better options, as we've covered up here. Tyranitar is just worse version of Rhyperior, and Rhyperior is already bad, so... This Nose Pass might be the worst basic in the entire game. This Nose Pass might be the worst basic ever. 80 HP is great. Tackle is... not good. 3 Retreat. When we talk about Probopass EX, you'll realize that this Nose Pass is its downfall. This shit is ass. And the previous Nose Pass we got is also terrible, so that sucks. Hopefully we get one that's decent. Metacham is not real. Again, just play Hitmonchan. Kickshot is not worth the coin flip. You would rather have consistent damage. 30 every turn is better. I'm sorry. Like, it's just... I know with Lucario you can hit for 100 and it's like, oh my god, that's so cool. I think the consistency of no coin flip Hitmonchan is just better. Like, I don't think this card is good. You can just flip tails and lose the game. And I'm sorry, I'm never going to be a fan of cards designed this way. This thing sucks. Okay, this is kind of hard to call. Garchomp EX, right? Okay, so in terms of the Gible and Gabite cards, by the way, the other previous ones are dragons and they're dual attackers. And it's just kind of going to depend which type of... I'm not going to rank these guys. No, yeah, I'll put them alongside Garchomp, I guess, right? Essentially... Whichever version of Gible you use is just going to depend on whichever version of Garchomp you're using. If you're using Garchomp EX, you want to play these guys. If you're using the other normal Garchomp, then you're going to want to play the Dragon type ones, right? But Garchomp EX is it's a bit tricky, man. I'm going to put it in niche. I'm going to put it in the rogue tier. I don't think this is going to catch on. Garchomp EX has some seriously good traits, don't get me wrong. 170 HP is nice and bulky. You're living Palkia. You're living Gyarados. Comfortably at that. You don't even need the Giant Cape. So that's quite nice. 170 HP is great. I like that a lot. As for stage 2, it makes a lot of sense, right? And linear attack is low-key kind of nuts. 1 energy 50 to anything is a very powerful attack. It makes sense. This is on a stage 2, right? Dragon Claw is underwhelming, right? Dragon Claw is underwhelming in my opinion. 100 damage. You're two-shotting everything in the game, which is nice. But I feel like it's still kind of underwhelming. This kind of reminds me of like Gengar EX, but a better version of Gengar EX. You trade your Disruption effect, which was not really that good in the first place, for for sniping potential and Dragon Claw. So theoretically, I mean, you could use linear attack to snipe something in the back and then next turn Cyrus it and kill it with Dragon Claw, which is pretty cool. But that takes 2 turns, right? I would say Garchomp EX would be infinitely better. It would be so much better if it actually worked with Cynthia. I don't know why it doesn't work with Cynthia. It's very stupid that it doesn't work with Cynthia because having a 150 attack Dragon Claw would be awesome. You could one-shot Palkia EX. That's sick, right? If Garchomp EX worked with Cynthia, I could actually see this card, legit. If Garchomp EX worked with Cynthia, there would be like a non-zero chance. Like, you could make a case that this could become one of the better fighting decks in the game right now. Maybe, like, even the second, like, besides Charizard, the game's second stage 2 that really catches on. But without that, I don't think there's an argument for Garchomp. I think it's going to stay as a rogue or, like, a more niche pick. And yeah, that's about all I've got for Garchomp, I think. This card it's got some seriously nice traits, but being a stage 2 lets it down. And Cynthia not working with this is just an absolutely gigantic fumble, in my opinion. Okay, so next we have Crobat. So Crobat's an interesting one. Crobat's a very interesting one. 30 damage to the active every turn as long as you have Arceus out is ridiculous. That's pretty nuts, I think. The problem is it's a stage 2, so I don't know. Like, Arceus plus the entire Crobat line doesn't leave you a lot of space in the deck. You can fit in 2 more basics pretty much. So you don't really have a lot of space to play around that. I think personally that these other cards right here are going to be better than Crobat. Crobat has a much more powerful effect, you could argue, but I really do think that it being a stage 2 is going to take up a lot more space in the deck, and overall I think that these are probably going to end up being better. So I'm going to drop Crobat into the niche category. Very strong effect, and people have been, cooking up stuff with like Darkrai with this. Darkrai, Arceus, Crobat. I don't know if that's going to catch on. It kind of sounds a little bit too cluttered to work. If the normal Arceus was actually good and could function as a wall, I think that could have been legit. But unfortunately, that's not the case. So I think this Crobat is not gonna catch on personally. I think it's a cool idea, but I think these other Arceus cards are probably just gonna end up being better. All right, next up we've got Krogunk and Toxicroak, and I'm really sad that this Toxic wasn't an ability. If Toxicroak had this Toxic shit as an ability, like without the Poison part, because the Poison part might be a little bit too broken, but let's say its ability was your opponent's active Pokemon takes double damage from Poison, and it had an attack on that, on top of that, preferably like Venoshock or something that doubles the double damage on Poison targets or something like that. This could have been a really big buff to Koga. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Toxic as an attack fucking sucks. So this thing is staying in the don't play tier. Unfortunate. This Magneton is going in don't play. There's no reason to ever play any Magneton that's not the one that can charge itself up. I don't even know why they bother printing new Magnetons, because, yeah. This Magnemite is fine, I guess. And this Magnezone, I really can't tell if this is going to be good or not. I think, personally, you're just better off playing Raichu. And Steel is not a fantastic type to play Arceus with, I feel. You don't really have as much support as you would Water or something like that. And, I mean, it's a cool card. I just think it's going to be niche. I think Crobat is definitely better than Magnezone. Like, if you're that hellbent on playing a Stage 2 with Arceus, Crobat is a much better option. So you know what? I think I'm actually just going to drop Magnezone into the don't play category. You could make an argument for niche, but this in the same tier as Crobat doesn't feel like it makes a lot of sense to me. I think Crobat's definitely better. So I should also mention none of this is ordered. Should have mentioned that at the start. Oh well. This Mawile is an anti-Steel card. Unless Steel becomes very good in the future, that thing sucks. Probopass is a card I'm very sad about. I'm going to put it in the don't play category. So here's the problem with Probopass, right? Initially, I was thinking, okay, well, this card is better than Melmetal. I think it's better than Melmetal because it's bulkier, right? And it still has the damage reduction, albeit tied to an attack instead of an ability, which is worse, but I still think it's better than Melmetal, right? But then I thought, is it? Melton can ramp itself up. Meanwhile, Nosepass is like the worst card ever. So maybe it's not actually better than Melmetal. And then I started thinking, okay, well, Skarmory Bastiodon picked up a little bit of traction in tournaments. Maybe we could see something similar with Skarmory Probopass. And then I thought, but Skarmory Bastiodon is good because you always start with Skarmory, and that way you can reliably build Bastiodon in the back. I say reliably loosely, you still need to find the fossil. But at least you always start with Skarmory. With Probopass, if you start with Nosepass, you're fucked. That 3 retreat cost is pretty much unplayable. So I'm sorry, Probopass is not a bad card. I do not think that Probopass is a bad card. 160 HP is great on a Stage 1. That is fantastic. As Executor has proven, that is super, super good on a Stage 1. And 90 damage is low, but you're two-shotting most things in the game, and ticking minus 20 incoming is good, and you can give this thing some longevity with Giant Cape and Potion, and even Adaman, you know, so I think that, like, Probopass is not a bad card. The problem is that Nosepass drags it down. If there was like a self-ramp Nosepass or a Nosepass that actually had a reasonable retreat cost, you could make an argument for Probopass, but that doesn't exist. So Probopass by extension sucks, because there's no good Nosepass. Sorry. You lead Nosepass, you're fucked. So Probopass isn't worth playing. Bronzong wants to be a Stage 1 version of Alakazam, but the scaling is horrible. 20 damage for each energy attached. If they have 3 energy, you're hitting for 110, I think. It's just not worth it. It's just not worth it, I think. Giratina. Ladies and gentlemen, Giratina. I am amazed. I am genuinely amazed at how bad they managed this card to be. 120, dual energy, discard 2. This thing could not have a negative effect on its attack at all, and it would still be horrible. This card is terrible. 3 retreat costs as well. I am appalled that we did not get Giratina EX, and I am appalled that this Giratina card is as bad as it is. This thing sucks major ass. Never even glance in its direction. Never use it. That thing Giga sucks. This is the worst EV we've ever gotten. 2 damage Tail Whip for Tail Whap for 30. This thing sucks. Snorlax sucks. Hoot Hoot and Noctowl. Hand Sculpt isn't a good card, so Silent Wing isn't really that good of an attack. Hand control's not really a real thing in this game. Sorry. The Starly is fine, I guess. Like if you're playing Staraptor. This Staravia is way better than the last one. Okay, Staraptor. Let's talk about Barry. Let's talk about Barry. Let's talk about Barry now. I think Staraptor is the only card where you can make an argument that maybe you can use it with Barry and it's kind of cool. Because 1 energy for 130 damage is a big deal, and doing 20 damage to yourself sucks, but you have the HP to back it up, unlike Vespiquen. You have 150 HP. That's pretty solid. You know, with a cape, you're hitting 170. That's pretty sick. I think, not to mention, this is colorless, by the way. So, Irida is a real thing that you could do. I think Staraptor Berry legit has... I don't think it's going to catch on, and I think it's going to end up being kind of bad. But it sounds like a pretty fun single prize deck. And if you play it in tournament, I don't think you're entirely trolling. 130 damage is a big deal. And the fact that Barry enables you to do it for 1 energy cannot be understated. It's a stage 2, of course. That's the biggest drawback. You're not really going to be able to power a second Staraptor. But it's a neat idea. Shaman is going in the I don't know tier. I think that Charizard is going to pretty much be the only, like, I don't know about the only deck, but I'd say Charizard is the only deck that I can think of right now that's really going to benefit off of Shaman, because pivoting to your Charizard for 1 energy, you're already going to have that energy attached because you needed to use Inferno Dance in the first place, right? So you can pivot to your Charizard pretty much for free, and you still have your supporter open for the turn, which is a really big deal. So I think Shaman is going to see play in Charizard. So honestly, you could make an argument for meta, but I'm putting in I don't know because I don't really know if it's going to see play outside of Charizard. I think it's going to see play in Charizard. I think Charizard players are probably going to slot Shaman in. There's a good chance they do. But this is splashable anywhere. So maybe it sees play somewhere else. Not sure. We'll have to see. This Arceus is horrible. Now we need to talk about Arceus EX. Alright, so this is the big one, right? Let me put up all the other Arceus cards. Alright, so Arceus is a really, really weird card. Arceus EX is a really weird card. So immediately, this is just a better Pikachu EX, right? Because it has way more support than Pikachu EX has, thanks to all of the Link cards. It's colorless, and it has more HP than Pikachu as well. You have 20 more HP. It's a little bit harder to pivot at 2 retreat. I think Pikachu was only 1, but pivoting has also just been... It's gotten worse thanks to Cyrus, so I don't think that's a huge deal. I don't really know if Arceus is going to catch on or not. I got to be honest with you. Like, it's hard to say. People are definitely going to experiment with it, and there's going to be 90,000 different Arceus builds. There's going to be a grass variant with Carnivine. There's going to be a fire variant with Heatran, electric variant with Raichu. People will probably try out Crobat and Abomasnow, like, is down here. No one's going to try out Tyranitar. No one's going to try out Rotom, but people will at least try out the... I might move the Abomasnow up. Yeah, I'm gonna move Abomasnow up. I don't think it's as bad as... It's not as bad as Rotom and Tyranitar. I don't think so. I'll move Abomasnow up. Why not? To the niche category. But yeah, man, I think Arceus has a legit chance of catching on. It's also splashable. Maybe even it could see play outside of its own archetype. It's splashable, right? So in any deck that likes to use a lot of basics, Arceus is a decent finisher, I think. The problem is that 3 energy cost. That's the problem. It's one more than Pikachu's attack. I still think it's worth it, but we're going to have to wait and see. I don't know how good Arceus is, but like I've been saying, all the link cards, how good they are is entirely going to depend on how good Arceus is. So we'll see. Celestic Town Elder and Adamant, and that's it, right? So Adamant is bad. I think Adamant is bad. And the reason Adamant is bad is because there's no good bulky steel deck, in my opinion. Right? The closest we got to that is Skarmory Bastiodon, and I don't think Adamant can find a place in that deck because it's already kind of crowded, and you would prefer healing instead. So if there's ever like blue did not see play, so Adamant's not going to see play either. This card sucks. Celestic Town Elder, I think, is our first. This is the only card in this entire expansion that I genuinely feel strongly like this is going to be part of the meta, like 100%. Celestic Town Elder, I think, is going to find a place in a couple decks. Discard interaction this is the first time we've ever had any sort of discard interaction in terms of actual cards in the discard pile. We have stuff like Volkner that helps us accelerate energy from the discard. But this is the first time we can actually get a card from the discard pile back. I thought about dropping this to the I don't know tier because my initial thoughts were, I don't know, the game might be a little bit too slow for this, you know? Like, there are scenarios in my head where it's like, okay, well, if I'm playing an evolution deck and my basic Pokemon gets knocked out before I get to evolve, even if I get it back with Celestic Town Elder, I think I'm just going to lose the game off of that, right? That was my initial thoughts. And to be honest, I still kind of have that thought process, but I think, like, there's potential for a lot of annoying shit with this. Like, imagine knocking out your opponent's Druddigon, and they can just get it back with the Celestic Town Elder, right? Or imagine knocking out your opponent's, like, Darkrai, they can just get it back, or something like that. Like, any key basic Pokemon, like, imagine with Palkia EX, dude. Imagine Palkia EX goes down, and you just use Celestic Town Elder, you bring it back, and you promote it to the active, and you can just wash out all the energy back onto it and keep swinging. Like, that sounds disgusting. That sounds kind of disgusting. I think Palkia EX might be too crowded to fit this card in with any more than one copy, but I think the Celestic Town Elder has potential. This card absolutely has potential. I think it's going to be seen in a lot of decks. People are going to experiment with it, and I could be wrong, but we'll see. All right, so I'd say this is pretty much my final list. This is my opinions on the newly released Triumphant Light set for Pokemon Pocket. Let me know what you guys think. Am I an idiot? Am I completely wrong? I would love to know. And obviously take this with a bit of a grain of salt. We're not even a full day into the expansion. We're going to have to see how the meta develops, what people are playing in tournament. But these are pretty much just my first impressions on the card, what I think just by looking at them for the first time, how I think the majority of them are going to do. Unfortunately, it looks like the majority of them are pretty bad. At least that's what I'm getting the impression of. But Irida and Celestic Town Elder are looking to bring, I think, some pretty significant changes to the game. Especially Irida. That card is turbo giga broken. And I guess we'll see if Arceus catches on. If Arceus catches on, I think some of these link cards that I put in the I don't know tier are really going to be pretty powerful. And Shaman could be really powerful as well. I know Charizard EX is really going to like that card. I'm pretty confident about that, but we're going to have to see if it can hold its own in some other decks as well. And that's going to be it from me, guys. Let me know if, what you guys think. Like I said, I'm going to be streaming some Pokemon Pocket sometime in the future, very soon, over on Twitch, as well as here on YouTube. Links will be in the description. Make sure to check that out if you're interested. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys around. Take care.